here we are for the 11th episode. Boys, can you believe it? We're 11 episodes in, and Sam is still deciding to do the podcast with us.
That's shocking to me, honestly. Like the fact that somebody hasn't come in and stole our cameras in one night, or the wives have allowed us to do this 11 times.
I still haven't told my wife what I'm doing. And she still doesn't know that I'm committed to 21 jersey purchases before the end of this year. More importantly than our 11th episode, we are 10 weeks out from the start of college basketball season. And it is going to be the longest 10 weeks of my life, but I can't wait for it to get here.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Since your school just ignores football.
What's a football?
My school still tries at football.
Yeah, my Purdue Boilermakers are going to struggle against most really good high school varsity teams. 5A. So Godspeed Boilers. I can't wait for the basketball season to start. At least we'll have a preseason top 5 ranking. We ain't getting that in football.
But yeah, I can't believe 10 weeks away. Obviously, we're going to be bringing you coverage of really asinine, crazy takes, and act like we know more than we do. We're very appreciative of those that have subscribed. Tell a friend, or not tell a friend. Maybe keep them from this madness. But let's be honest, you want them to know, and you want them to be a part of our podcast. Please have them subscribe and check us out. Jake, what other ways can they get in contact with Bench Points?
You can find us on Instagram at the Bench Points Pod, and on TikTok at bench.points. Throw us a message, comment, do whatever. Just watch it, have fun. Make fun of us. I don't care. We'll all respond and have fun. Whatever energy you bring, I'll bring the same.
That's right. Yeah.
And if you're watching, Megan, we will not come after you because you went to the FDU game.
Honestly, man, we appreciate you. Thank you for listening or watching. I suggest listening. We're not going. There's no beauty contest going to be won in this group, but there is a beauty contest that is occurring in the southern part of the state of Alabama, and that's going to kick off our Bench Points conversation about South Alabama claiming that they have the 4th best stadium in the nation.
It is pretty. I will give them that.
It is. It is super nice. Honestly, once that story came out, I'm like, that is insane. But then once I started looking, I was like, okay, it is nice. 4th?
Who are they thinking is the top 3 that are in front of them? Out of curiosity.
That is the 1,000%. That is the exact right question.
And
who
then
is ahead of
5 through 10?
Well, that's also a good point. That's also a good point. For them to they threw it out there. They're branding and marketing it.
I mean, Auburn's just grabbing national championships. They might as well grab.
I mean,
a stadium ranking. I guess I don't know. Maybe they're trying to up their stadium pressure in college football 26. Like I don't know. Maybe trying to get something like that.
Yeah, maybe it's just like look, if we're claiming stuff, is there any vacant national championships in college basketball? Because I've got a phone call into an athletic director at Purdue University. We could start hanging banners tomorrow. Like, hey, look, my backyard's the best backyard in the state of Indiana. You know,
I've been there. It is true.
I've got 2 Newfoundland dogs that will attest to that. I mean, if they're going to defecate anywhere, it's going to be in my backyard. And they do a hell of a job at it, like 2 or 3 times a day. So, here we are, the 3 of us claiming it's the best backyard in Indiana and, kind of taking a page out of South Alabama's book here.
But why 4th? If you're going to claim something, claim it all. Don't claim and be off the podium. At least put yourself on the podium, get a medal.
So that would mean that they're likely better than one of these colleges. They're either better as far as like a field or arena. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee. Who else can we throw in there?
You can call the Rose Bowl for USC.
Yeah. Pasadena, USC, Notre Dame. Like, who on this list are y'all beating on atmosphere and venue here? Because I don't know. I'm not seeing it.
What's wild is, so I was looking at this earlier. That stadium holds 20.
Basketball arenas that hold more.
I was about to say, even the Food City Center here in Knoxville, Rupp Arena just blows out of the water. I think Food City is pretty close. I think they actually might be like 24, but still, that should even be, especially in I still find it very interesting to say that they're making that claim.
I'm just hung up on why 4th. Like, that's the most confusing part to me is why are you claiming 4th?
Say you're the best.
I mean, it's like, I don't know. They're not saying they're number 1. So, like, maybe people will gloss over it. But, I mean.
Yeah, right. It doesn't trigger enough people because they're saying 4th. saying they are the best. That's funny. Like definitely a sandbagging situation.
Yeah, it's a hell of a claim, that's for sure.
It is a hell of a claim, and I think one of a hellish behavior.
Yeah.
For a bench behavior.
Look, if you're on the bench, you might as well throw the towel up in the air, right? Celebrate. Look at them; they're doing it right. They're over there on the bench in Alabama. God knows how far away from Tuscaloosa, and they're saying, "Look at me, it's us." I'm like, all right, South Alabama, here you are.
Well, guess who's also bringing that attention upon themselves, just like his father raised his boys to be, and that's Shilo Sanders as the next level bench behavior. I think the Sanders brothers could potentially be in the bench behavior Hall of Fame for this podcast. They have been the most frequent topics in our bench behavior segment, but to punch someone in a preseason game when you don't even have a spot on the roster might be, I thought speeding and potentially murdering someone through the streets was a big deal. This dude punched a guy in a preseason game. That meant nothing.
All right, here's my tinfoil hat.
It meant his job is what it meant.
Yeah, it did. Exactly.
Here's my tinfoil hat. Shilo punched that guy. Obviously, the dude, let's be honest, the tight end here is not innocent. He's blocking him out.
Oh, he was agging him on. He was begging for that.
Shilo didn't have a spot on that roster. He's in the game, junk minutes, and this dude's just trying to get a reaction out of him. Shilo punched him. He knows he doesn't have a spot on that roster anyway. To be honest, he doesn't have a spot. Now he gets to point at this and say, this is why I don't have a spot on a roster.
Yeah.
Reality, dude, come on. You weren't making it.
I haven't seen, has he even made a practice squad? Because that could be the difference.
Well, not now.
Think so. Dude, I don't think so.
He's not going to hold a clipboard, dude. He's gone. I mean, but the whole family's going to point at this and be like, Shilo doesn't have a spot because of he punched a guy that was instigating up and down the field, right? This is what they needed. Bookmark this. This is going to be the topic of conversation for the Sanders family. Now, if something happens to Shedeur and he doesn't play, which we're approximately 1 year, maybe 2 away from that being the case, then they're going to point to they're out for my family. Like, dude, it has nothing to do with your family. It has nothing to do with your name. It has nothing to do with the way you're hyping yourselves. It's just that talent's caught up with you. The league is the league for a reason. And y'all ain't making it.
Well, and also, no, go ahead, Jake.
I mean, it also when you're not good enough to be a superstar, throwing any kind of crazy attitude out there is the dumbest thing you can do because you are a dime a dozen. Maybe not. That's might be too much. But it's backup quarterbacks. No matter what, 2 or 3. That there's 1,000 of you out there that can play at that level. It's who causes the draws, least amount of issue, and whatever, and who does the owner like? And the only reason Shedeur is there is the owner likes him, is my theory.
Well, and I think too, all 3 of us, we all have boys. We've got boys in our family. And I'm sorry, but when your daddy goes out and has a conversation and has a press conference and saying that your boy's going to be okay, he's going to be all right, and he's a man of many talents.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Without even saying hey, no, he messed up, and this is a consequence of it. When I guarantee he's giving that same sermon to his players in Boulder. To me, that was a bad move of being an enabling dad. Listen, being a dad's tough. Being a parent is tough. All right, we all know that it is the hardest job in the world. In that public space, I really kind of wish Deion would have been just being a dad.
Yeah. I think so. This is what it conflicts with some of the stuff that we've said earlier, right? Deion probably should distance himself from his kids' NFL careers, but at the same time, your kid starts acting up and he's doing it publicly. I think this is when you step in and be like, "Hey, look, I'm gonna have a talk with him, and hopefully we can get him reined back in." Because you want your kid to be coachable and you want your kid to be successful. And the way to do that is to make them so they're coachable, so that they have the opportunity for success. And right now, Deion's feeding egos as opposed to, getting his kids settled down so that they can have some chance at success in the NFL. Because what happened to Shedeur was 100% ego driven. It had nothing to do with his talent because he displayed very, very high potential things at Colorado. They didn't play anybody. And when they did, they got dog walked, but he showed signs of potential. Hell, they had a Heisman come out of that school. So at least something's going right over there. But It's just at some point you got to step in and be like, I got to get my kid's head right so that they can succeed. This is where a parent stepping in is necessary, and you're just not going to do it because they got 3 egos right there that are bigger than what they think the game is, and that's why they're not going to be successful.
That's for sure.
Bigger than what the game is. Clip it, stamp it, tweet it, retweet it. That's it. That's exactly right. Because that's the demeanor that I feel like I've seen out of both of them.
Shame.
It is a shame. It is a shame. But I'd say what's not a shame is making millions of dollars to coach a basketball team in college. That's a pretty sweet gig. And so as we kind of are in our 10-week home stretch of the college basketball season, let's rank the top 10 coaches that are in the game.
Jake, you want to lead us off here?
Yeah, I can lead us off. I'm putting 1 and 2 the way they are. Just it's alphabetical. I don't know that I think that's the only difference between them. But you go Hurley and Sampson. However you want to divide those up, that's 1 and 1A. But after that, I go 3 at Pitino, 4 Todd Golden, 5 Bruce Pearls, Nate Oates, 7 Matt Painter, 8 Shire, 9 Izzo, and 10 Barnes. And I can see arguments to put up Dusty May or Scott Drew over Barnes and maybe Izzo, maybe Shire, however you want to do that. But that's the 12-ish names. I don't think you can argue too much with those names.
Yeah, so I'm pretty close with you on this list here. Hurley I put at the number 1 because he had 2 national championships, and you're going to be competing for a 3rd one this year, and that in a short amount of time. He calls himself the best effing coach in the sport, and I mean, honestly, as much as his antics drives everybody nuts, you can't argue with his results. And the way he's able to recruit, build, scheme, and coach, it's all there. This isn't like window dressing like you'd see with like some of my honorable mentions like Self or Calipari, where they buy rosters and they just happen to get national championships out of them. And you'll never convince me that Self and Calipari are great coaches. I think they're great recruiters, and they both had multiple wins vacated from them. So this is where, we're going to get pushback from certain fan bases. We're calling it like we've seen it for a long time now. This is just what it is.
And it's not like he just got gifted all-star programs. His Buffalo career stands out too. He was very good at Buffalo, and then stepped into UConn and immediately, I think there was a 2-year hiatus, and then hit the national title with probably the most dominant run we've ever seen.
Yep. Two dominant runs. Just absolutely fantastic tournament runs, and really took Florida, the eventual national champions, to the wire this last year. And then I got Sampson. Sampson's been on the doorstep so many times. You might as well call him a Mormon or Jehovah's Witness at this point, because he's hitting doorsteps like crazy. He's on that Final Four list every single year. He's not going away. He's built programs wherever he's gone. Houston just happens to be the beneficiary right now.
Yeah, I feel like he's snake bitten. He's had incredible teams that lose a star player in the Elite 8 or Sweet 16 or something like that, and it just all of a sudden they're not. And I mean, the team is still competing the next round, but it's just, man, you had the team and the guy broke his leg or Achilles, hamstring, whatever it is, and just all of a sudden just can't do it anymore. It sucks because he's had teams that should have won. And then, I mean, even this last year, they had Florida. They were ahead at halftime. They were
ahead with 2 minutes left. Yeah, I watched the last 3 minutes of that game here recently, and they were really a shot away from winning it. The dude just couldn't get the ball up, and then panicked. Nobody else knew what to do except Florida. It was like, hey, get the hell the ball, get it. Don't let them touch it. But But I don't know.
Jake, I'm glad you lean into that for Sampson, because it's one of those deals where, and I love Coach Barnes. I love him very much. Obviously, I love the man very much, but it's more of a blunder when he loses. Like it's an unraveling. Sampson feels like it's just bad freaking luck. Just like you said, it's always been something wild. And in today's day and age, as he should have never been fired from IU. He is due to get one of these, and I obviously I would love for Rick Barnes to get one for so many reasons, obviously. But Sampson's the man. I love that dude. He's great as well.
It's not like Houston was in a great spot when he took over either.
No. I think it'd be safe to say they were irrelevant.
Houston went through stretches in the early thousands where they were relevant, but they had like stretches where they weren't. And ever since Sampson's taken over, they're perennial Final Four favorite. And they're just like
Yeah.
every year when you're talking about your preseason top 5, they're always in it. And then they'll have a rough non-con or something like that, and they'll fall to like 6 or 7 or 8, and everybody thinks Houston's done. And by the end of the year, they're back at the number 1 line. So Kelvin Sampson just wills his team to wins, and he's a tournament coach. He just hasn't gotten it done, which kind of leads into my number 3 is Pitino. And I think Jake, was that your number 3? Yeah, because Pitino's a legend. But then my number 4 is big happy birthday to him. 55 years old today at the time of this recording, by the way. So you guys will hear this Monday. But Matt Painter, another guy that's had kind of some bad luck. Obviously, I'm a Boilermaker. I'm wearing my Purdue jersey right now. I go back to the year that Isaac Haas got taken down and broke his elbow. I go back to the baby Boilers where Robbie Hummel blew out his knee. I go back to the FDU and St. Peter's years where they just absolutely could not get it done, Megan. And
Megan.
I think the monkey is starting to get off his back, but he's 55 years old. If he coaches for another 15 years, there's a chance for a national title or 2 in here. I think AI is predicting they'll win at least 1 in the next 5 years, and I'd love to see that. But he's ran into some bad luck too, just like Sampson. I think just Sampson's consistency to be able to get to the dance floor, like the Final Four, kind of puts him a little bit over. And then rounding out my top 5, I got Bruce Pearl. I'm just a Bruce Pearl fan. I was a fan of him at Tennessee. I'm a fan of him at Auburn. We'll get to see him coach my Boilers here in Indianapolis. When we talk about some of these big non-conference games coming up, that's another big one. But Bruce Pearl, guy I've met personally, probably doesn't remember me, but just a great all-around dude, great all-around coach, great all-around program builder, wherever he's going. Rounding out my top 10, I got Oates. My number 7, I've got Izzo. And Izzo, I think he's on the decline of his career. He hasn't been the big Final Four threat over the course of the last couple of years. Last year, everybody was surprised that they landed a 2-line, but Izzo's just an absolute legend. He coaches in one of the greatest arenas in college sports, and eventually they're going to name that place after him because, he's just an absolute legend. In our time that we get to watch. And he was fun to hate 10, 15 years ago, but now he's pushing 70, and I just root for the guy. I obviously don't want him to beat the Boilers. I don't want him to win the Big Ten. I sure as hell don't want to see him win a national title over Purdue, but I love the guy. I wish nothing but the best for him. He's still in my top 10. He'll probably be in my top 10 if he finishes less than 500 this year. Just a great all-around coach, great all-around program builder, great representative for the game of college basketball.
100%.
Newbie here, I got John Shire. Jake has talked about this at length, and just something that you cannot deny about Shire. He inherited Duke, so it's just telling you, hey, the son of this billionaire just started a company, he's making $100 million. Nobody cares, right? Because you inherited a vast amount of wealth that nobody will ever have access to in their entire life, but it's what you do with it that counts. And Shire has made a Sweet 16. He made an Elite 8. He made a Final Four. Is he going to make a national championship game this next year? Is he going to win a title here in the next couple of years? The dude's done nothing but prove himself, and he's recruiting like crazy. He is getting names. Cooper Flagg, the Boozer brothers, Con Kneppel, he's just getting names, and these folks are winding up in the NBA, and they're winding up successful. So again, props to Shire. And then to round out my 9 and 10, I've got Golden. You win a national title, you're on this list. Scott Drew, you win a national title, you're on this list. It's been a minute for Scott Drew, but Baylor's had its ups and downs, but he definitely needs to be up there. And then my honorable mentions, I've got a few of them. Barnes, and it's, mostly because I'm on this podcast with 2 Tennessee fans, so I got to pay homage to these guys. But being a Purdue fan and having to experience Tennessee games with these guys and watch Barnes scheme and play the way he does defense with his teams, I respect it a ton because I'm a big rock fight guy. I like defensive battles. It was what I was good at when I played. So Barnes, I got a ton of respect for. I put Dusty May because he's 5 years from now, in all likelihood, he will have Michigan national title contender ready, and they are this year. We'll just have to see how it all plays out. Mark Few, he's taken a mid-major to the dance so many times now. You got to put some respect behind his name, although I think some of it's now more program building than coaching. And like Gonzaga's kind of starting to slip in relevancy. So we'll see what happens over the course of the next few years, but he's getting up there in age. And then my last honorable mention is Self. And the reason I put that, he's got a couple national titles, but he's also had wins vacated. He's had a Final Four run vacated. He's been suspended. You cannot win multiple national titles and not be a decent coach. He's more of a program builder than he is anything else, but you still have to put some respect behind his name. And then also, I hope you get to feeling better. I'd rather see you never coach a college basketball game again, live out the rest of your days healthy and with your family, and stop ruining the game. That's all I've got to say about that.
I think the biggest difference there is Todd, because I've got him up there inside the top 5. I love what he was doing. I was a fan of his at San Francisco. I thought he was making big strides there at a school that hasn't been relevant since Bill Russell. Then he had them in the tournament and all that. Then he goes to Florida, and I don't know if I texted Brad, but when I saw that hiring, I called my dad and I said, "We're in trouble."
Yeah.
He's in an extremely talent-rich state that has what's shocking if you start looking at it, a very good basketball history for a long time, been very, very good. And he's got resources in a talent-rich state, and he's an incredible basketball coach. And what's wild is he plays a very different style than he did at San Francisco. And that to me is what's extremely impressive with him, is he said, okay, here's my talent at San Francisco. This is how I play to win. And then he goes to Florida. He's like, oh, all right, let's change it up. And that's why there's Pearl there too, because Pearl flips the script real quick. He doesn't have a style that he forces into. He gets real adaptable. And that's also Hurley and Sampson. That was what really decided my top 5 from the lower 5 was how much is it that your style is hard to compete with, that you've decided to, versus I throw you 5 basketball players and you're going to get the best team out of them. And I think Hurley, Sampson, Pitino, Golden, and Pearl, you could give them any set of 5 basketball players at any time, and they're going to get a better team out of them than anybody else will.
Yeah,
here's a fun fact about the difference between Bruce Pearl and Golden. Is Bruce Pearl's 65 years old. How many more years do you think he's going to coach? 5 to 10?
Yeah, something like that.
Todd Golden is 40.
Yeah.
How terrifying is that?
It's miserable is what that is.
I think 5 years from now, when you're talking about your top 10 coaches, I think he's going to be in your 1 to 3 range. And if Matt Painter doesn't start winning national titles, he might fall out of that top 5. I was looking at several lists, and everybody's got very similar lists. There's some people that are really, really high on Calipari, some people that are higher on Self, some people that are lower on Shire and things like that because of age and experience. But, if we're going on recent results, I have Golden at number 9 because he hasn't been at Florida for too terribly long, and he's got a team this year. He wins another national title, I put him above Hurley just because of age and opportunity right now. But, you could really flip. You could drop Oates, for example. Yeah, I'd drop Oates down to 10 and move these guys up, because I think I've got Oates at 6 just because I love the way he coaches.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think 1 through 5 and 6 through 10, especially probably your list, you could put those in any 5 order, and I'm not going to disagree there. There's something we got to talk about though. Why are we not penalizing Pitino for his vacated title run?
Yeah. It's
because I had to square that up in my own head, and I was like, well, you had all the Kentucky stuff and all that beforehand where he proved how good of a coach he is, and he did it with Iona. So you can back him up with stuff like that where Self hasn't really done that. He's done 2 power programs.
He is definitely guilty of the same things. I just he's just a proven coach. I think he has coached teams well that he's bought.
In many different ways.
I feel like I can, for Pitino, for me, it's the fact that guy could take any basketball squad, anyone, and make them better at basketball. That dude, I think he is probably had the highest basketball IQ of any coach that's on this list in terms of knowledge and knowing how to get that into players' heads. Now, obviously, money helps. 1,000% that's happened. The dude knows ball. And what's even more fascinating about this list, and I have to say this is my biggest piece about this. I really don't. My list is no different than either one of your alls. The biggest difference is the Todd Golden. I don't feel like he deserves to be as high up because where you've got him. I have him more where Sam has him in that bottom of the top 10. Definitely is going to end up being at the top, as much as I hate to say it, but especially after this year. But for Pitino and this class of coaches right now, we're in a place where they've evolved through all these huge, massive changes in the college basketball era and have maintained themselves being relevant, except for people like Bill Self. That's to me, that's my biggest knock on him. I'm not saying they've been irrelevant, but other teams have really kind of made a bigger splash than, like, they kind of caught up to him quicker than you would expect. And so I also know of college coaches that love Bill Self and they're very successful. And I respect the daylights out of these men, but I have lost a lot of faith in who Bill Self is. And it kind of pains me when I hear Jake, I think you said it, that he's that program builder, because I always thought that Bill Self was one of those like basketball minds, but he has not adapted to the game.
I'm going to comment on that. It's because everybody else gets to pay players now.
Right. No, and listen, you can pay them, but know how to manage those personalities. I mean, I just hope that, you know what? I hope Todd Golden's the next coach of the Knicks, right? And that the way that it is, whoever's like a top tier coach in college basketball is going to be the next coach of the Knicks. So I'm going to go ahead and start that rumor. I hope if he goes and wins a natty this year, which I still think they're probably going to be in there in the mix.
Yeah, they're going to be in the mix.
They're going to be in the mix. Go coach the Knicks. They need somebody. Just go with.
Get the hell out of college basketball so somebody else gets some wins.
Get out of here. You know,
something that just struck me, and I want to get y'all's take on it. How similar are Pitino and Saban with how they've handled? Saban's got more titles and all that, and I think it's much easier to win a title in college football than it is basketball, just because of the tournament aspect of it. But they both coached forever. They went through several different upgrades of the sport, or downgrades, depending on how you look at it. Ran to the pros, got shellacked, came sprinting back. Came sprinting back to a conference, the same conference or similar conference, and rival, with Saban going from LSU to Bama, and then Pitino going from Kentucky to Louisville. Like, it was just funny to me. I was sitting here thinking how similar those careers kind of mirror each other in different sports.
That's an interesting point. Now, I think for me, the biggest difference is that Coach Saban has Miss Terry and Pitino has Rita from Denny's. And that also makes a big difference. I feel like they've got both obviously very knowledgeable coaches, but like, I don't think Saban was distracted by much through his coaching career. I think he was very determined. And as knowing somebody who has played for him, and what I've always heard, that dude is a lights out, success driven machine. He's obsessed, addicted to success. And you see that. I get fired up in his little YouTube clips that they'll keep showing. I still get excited about him. I can't stand the guy, you know, for whipping up on Tennessee for so long, but Coach Heupel's didn't, you know, he put a number on him towards the end of the career, but still, I find that that's a very interesting comparison of Pitino. I do feel like that him and Saban both have a very equal IQ capabilities for both of their respective sports. I think it's the same level.
So I find this interesting here too, because I follow like 50, 60 different things of college basketball that come out with some new list all the time. And this site I follow, I won't mention their names because they're a little bit lesser known. And I'm sure somebody's going to say, you follow that and you look at that list. But it had the most overrated college basketball teams over the last decade. And they did this like really interesting thing about your starting AP versus your ending AP and what your net was over the course of 10 years. And I can't help but notice that, you know, a couple of the programs that we've talked about, Kentucky with Calipari, I think it's going to change under Pope, but Calipari was a overrated coach. According to this list, Bill Self was an overrated coach. They did have Duke on this list, but I don't see Duke has just been like a force in the ACC and college basketball forever, and so I can't really call them overrated. But another team that fell under this, especially over the course of the last 4 years, was Hubert Davis's North Carolina, which is fun because we talked about that. I believe in episode 1 or 2.
Yeah, close to it.
It was early on, and we caught some heat for it because, you know, Hubert Davis made a national title game. Yeah. And so come to my complete shock and awe that, I own college basketball, and one of my favorite podcasts, Gary Parrish, shout out to you, buddy. I love you. He's part Boiler, by the way. He was talking with this guy, is like, I believe is an NC State guy, just talking about how I think we're all at the point where Hubert Davis needs to win or go home. I think he's kind of run out of excuses here. And we're talking about like our top coaches. This is an overrated coach. A couple of the coaches on this list have either gone or on their way out. So like Calipari's left Kentucky. He's in Arkansas now, being overrated over there. Woodson from IU is out. He's gone. I think Hubert Davis is not far behind. He's got to win this year, and I don't see the roster to do it, but we'll see what happens in the course of the next 10 weeks moving forward.
Yeah, it's one of those. I'd be very curious to see what the details of that contract are, how easy it is for them to let him go.
I'm sure it's easy, and I'm sure they can afford it. If they can afford a $20 million roster, they can afford to get him the hell out of there.
For sure. There was somebody else that you all mentioned. Oh, I want to mention this one other portion, is that for Bruce Pearl, I think one of the things about Bruce obviously has a big impact on literally growing up. One of the best nights of my life is when I was playing in high school, and we won our first round of a regional tournament, which guaranteed us a spot in a sub-state, I believe. And that same night is when Tennessee beat Calipari and Memphis to become number one in the country. That was unbelievable. I'll never forget it. One of the best nights of my life. And the biggest thing about Bruce is that I have never liked, even when he was here, the high risk play. I like to think of basketball more of this weave of game planning and in depth, like the X's and O's. The run and gun, not saying I don't like that, but I always feel like it leaves you so vulnerable. And he has also capitalized on that when he has the right players. But he is one of those coaches which makes this conversation so interesting, is that he'll have these huge years, but then he'll be flat. And then these huge years, and then he'll be flat. Like he has to have the right roster to fit his style. And so nothing against the guy, but I think that's one thing that's just always bothered me. I've just never, that's just always kind of irked me.
Yeah, like Bruce Pearl has he loves that fast running gun. That's the way I think basketball is meant to be played, is all speed, no breaks, right? Like, I want to see you like a half court offense is fun and all that. I want to see that, but I want it moved. I want it quick. And he does that. Like Bruce Pearl was very big influence on me growing up too. Like with Knoxville, like Tennessee was irrelevant basketball wise. Like it was bad, real bad. And
I was like their only fan. I felt like I could like it. I've got half their.
You're the other guy at the arena, yeah,
exactly.
But he comes in and turns, like, all the love goes to Chris Lofton, and rightfully so. But people forget C.J. Watson was an NBA point guard on that team that really made that team go.
God, I love C.J. freaking Watson.
But then I think Ohio State made the year they made the title game with Oden and Conley. We were ahead by 20, and and he played a much slower paced team that year. Tennessee was much slower than what they had been, and was ahead by 20 at halftime, and then the wheels fell off. But that's what happens when you have two first round NBA players and none on the other team. But that kind of stuff, like he can play slow. He much prefers fast. That first Final Four he made with Auburn, with the tiny guards, I can't remember. That team felt like they came out of nowhere to be just an outrageous run, and were so much fun to watch. It reminded me of
knew Pearl, though, knew that team didn't come out of nowhere. Like, you knew he was capable of getting them there. But you're right that from a talent aspect, you didn't see it on paper.
And those, I can't remember those guards' names, but golly, it felt like everything they threw up went in, and that was I hated that. That was one of the first years he was coaching, he wasn't at Tennessee, and so I was always mad at Auburn, but I hate a lot of that, and I found myself enjoying those games.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's funny. I mean, this is a different conversation, but to me, and I guess this is why I like Barnes and Sampson so much. Like, if I can keep your ass from scoring and to disrupt your entire play, you've been playing a certain way all year, and and I can derail you from that, and I make you that uncomfortable. I've got chill, but I love that. I always have, and so I think that's one thing that makes that offensive run and gun, where you have that high risk, high reward. I don't see that being a sustainable deal. But hey, Bruce has made it work better than anybody in that style of play. That's his style of basketball. He's the Tony Soprano of that style of basketball. Like that, he's the guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because you got Oates, who I think me and Sam had both right behind him, who runs a ridiculous pace. I mean, Pitino was known for pressing for a while. Like I don't know. I'm very much the run and gun. Like I'm not saying anti-defense. I want press in your face. Let's put some pace into this game, because that's when basketball is the most fun.
You know, we're talking about these like I'm a defense guy and our coach is Painter, and we're likely to have a top 5 offense this year, possibly the number 1 preseason Torvik and Kempom offense. God, if you pair that offense and the way Painter coaches by committee and empowers his assistants, but also schemes like crazy from an offensive mindset, and his sets are just ridiculous. He's got the point guard to run them too. You pair that with a top 10 defense. Do you think anybody would touch Purdue with a top 10 defense playing the offense that they have for the past 4 or 5 years? No, I think that's what's kept them from a national title, is that Barnes, that Pearl mentality. One thing I felt like in the 2024 national title game, and this is why I got Hurley on my number 1 spot, is I think Hurley understood. He's like, look, this offense rolls around, drop the ball to Edie. Edie works and somebody commits to the double team. Edie finds the open guy, 3-ball, right? And if they don't hit the 3-ball, Edie's going to suck up an offensive rebound every 5 possessions and get a bucket off of it. Hurley sold out on that. He's like, no, that's not what we're doing. He's like, we're going to shut down these other 4 guys. Zach Edey can score 44 points if he wants. And I think he scored 37, but nobody else did anything. Nobody else on that team did a damn thing. And that's what Hurley wanted. And that's why he's the top coach here. He went into a national title game against one of the greatest offensive minds in college basketball and completely shut him down. Love that style of basketball. Hated that it happened to my Boilers.
Well, and I think, and I've also received heat from, I guess, like downplaying Connecticut's success, but I'm sorry. I've lived and grown up here in Vol Country, and when I think of UConn, I think of their women's program, and I cannot stand them for anything. And
Totally
so
get it.
I'll always be negative. I can't do it. Okay. Can't do it.
I loved Calhoun when he was there. I hated that he came back and it didn't work. I wish he was back in the game. One of my favorite coaches that he was just incredible, very good basketball coach. Just happened to be at UConn forever.
Rated and underappreciated, right?
Yeah. I think it took a little bit from his legacy that Kevin Ollie took over and went immediately back to the championship.
Yeah.
So it's like, was it Calhoun or the players, and then Ollie? I don't know. That got weird, and then they had a down 3 years, and then Hurley comes in and wins 2 titles.
Yeah,
his legacy doesn't get the whole contrast of hey, the team really fell off when I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Well, and this is the last thing I'll say for when it comes to Hurley. I think what has him at the top of my list is the fact that he does just about. I think he's better. I think he's better than anybody in the country at balancing both the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, and maximizing both of those areas. Doesn't lean so heavily, which has been a thing that Barnes has struggled with, where we can't have an offense. If we have a dry spell, we are screwed. Now that game's going to be a total of 80 points, but still Hurley has a total package, and he's produced that. And I think, and I can't help but respect it. Does he get on my last nerve? Absolutely. Do I like him? No, I don't. Not at all. But he's a damn good coach, and he knows what he's doing. And you're never going to count him out. But he's the most balanced guy out there.
Ever get a chance, Hurley basketball practice, you'll see a video, it'll inevitably come up, where he is yelling at his team. He's
I've
like,
seen
if you
this.
don't have a national title ring on your finger right now, you ain't walking anywhere. And that's what his players buy into. I mean, he is just an absolute psychopath, but it's the kind of psychotic that wins you national titles.
Makes you wonder what his dad's high school practices are like.
God.
Bro, great. Hey, call in.
That high school
call
is
in.
super productive, super successful. It gets a ton of kids out to them college.
Listen, if you played for Daddy Hurley back in the day, call in. Let us know. We want to hear from you. That legit, honestly, would be pretty interesting to hear about. I'm not going to lie. I know I'm joking about calling in, but truly, I'd be very interested to know how that practice went down. I guarantee you most kids wouldn't survive in today's day and age.
All right, time for a little detour from hoops. It's the Syllabus Preview Segment. Professor Sides is here to prove spreadsheets can be sexy, and he and Cousin Jared are breaking down UNC versus TCU. Consider this your sneak peek at the chaos coming later this fall.
Monday night, TCU against North Carolina. What hasn't been said here, Josh Hoover, one of the stronger quarterbacks in college football. North Carolina with a new coach. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of him. Goes by the name of Billy Belichick, I believe. I love TCU in this one. I'm not buying into the Belichick hype. I'm not buying into the hype early on that it's going to be good. It might be good later. I don't know. I'm not expecting a smooth start to it. I'm expecting what happened with Stanford, where you haven't been watching college football. What's going on here? The new system, the new whatever. I just expect some quirks like that. Again, by the end of the year, who knows? But I think early on, this is a really tough opening game for North Carolina. Sideline has this TCU minus 8.5. I put A grade up there. Only a B grade for this one. It would be an A grade at 3.
The only thing I trust is TCU's offense. I know that Bill Belichick is the defensive guru. You're probably going to see that manifest itself more the later in the season we go. I think we're just going to have a welcome to college football moment here. I think you're going to see moments where North Carolina looks really competent in the first part of the season and times where they're going to look very much overmatched.
Stanford had a couple drives where they were just running the ball down their throat, 5 yards a pop, and it looked great. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Look at this. And then they had times where it was like, what are you doing out there?
Very well I would definitely stick to laying the points in this game as opposed to money line. I think you're just taking additional risks there.
The official play is minus 3.5, and that is a B grade, but there's minus 3s out there now that are A grades. But if you don't have the minus 3 yet, or if it goes away quickly, again, I do think there will be North Carolina hype money coming in. And so waiting later to take it isn't crazy.
That was your syllabus preview with Professor Sides. Now back to the chaos here on Bench Points.
But anyway, so we're talking about top tier, top shelf coaches, and really you got to have a good arena. You got to have a good crowd. You got to have a good fan base to support what you're building in a program builder. Since we're basing we're saying that Bill Self is a top-notch program builder. You can't build a program with a crappy arena, or can you? Look, Vanderbilt's still trying to figure that out. But what are some top shelf venues?
Look, I don't think Jake and I are going to disagree on many of these. Brad, you can kind of step in and say if you have any problem with this list. But when I go my top 5 arenas, my top 5 are 5 arenas that I've personally been to. One time when I had money, I went and spent it on foolish things like going to college basketball games to watch my team or a team that I liked lose at one of these arenas. But my top, and this is coming from somebody who truly hates Kansas basketball, respects the program, hates Kansas basketball. Fog Allen Fieldhouse, excuse me. I'm choking on my own words right now. Greatest atmosphere to watch a college basketball game. The traditions going into it, everything that happens outside of the arena, inside the arena, rock chalk, all that fun stuff. It is just an absolutely fantastic and electric place to watch a college basketball game. So they are my 1A and my 1B. Before we move into 3, 4, and 5 here, because I want to get Jake's take on this, is Cameron Indoor. Sometimes Duke fans can be the most insufferable people on planet Earth, and
1,000%. Rightfully
so. They're like the Yankees, right? You win enough national titles, you're successful enough, you get the right to just be dicks to everybody else in the country. Cameron Indoor, though, you go watch a game there. I mean, it's about the size of a shoebox. I mean, if you get in, Dean Smith Arena, 20 minutes away, built their arena so that everybody could go in. And Cameron Indoor is kind of like that club that you want to get into, but you can't because there's a hell of a doorman there, and you have to pay a hefty premium to get past them. I had the luxury of going to see Duke UNC about 15 years ago. One of the greatest times of my entire life. Great place to watch a college basketball game. Great place to just be in general. You walk in that building, you feel the history, you feel the national titles, you feel like the electricity from the fans. Great atmosphere. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to Jake to find out how he feels about those first 2 before we move into who I think is the obvious number 3.
I've got the same 2. Like 1A, 1B, however you want to split it is what it is. Never been lucky enough to go to Fog Allen. It's on my bucket list as much as I hate Kansas.
Dang.
It is on my bucket list to go out there to watch a game and cheer as hard as I can against them. But I can imagine it's the same kind of feeling. But me, what separates Cameron is, and a few of these on this list, is the fact that it sits 9,000. The fact that you are getting top tier NBA talent and you're playing in a high school gym is unreal. Like like being that close as the student section is at Duke, and that's a big difference too. Is the student section just wrapping that court at Cameron Indoor and being touching distance of players when they're inbounding the ball. Like you can't replicate that anywhere else. You're never going to get an arena like that any other time. And I'm surprised Duke hasn't. Whoever has made the amazing decision to not redo an arena and get it to 8,000 seats that they would sell out. Props to you. I love you. I would love to give you a hug. And all that. Because just keeping that where it's at is like and not being greedy is incredible. And that's the difference to me is just the size that you're getting top tier, like especially with North Carolina and Wake Forest or NC State and Miami, like those teams are good. You're getting like at your small, like not even like it's not even normal high school. It's like going to your 1A high school gym that can barely host the district tournament because of seats, and it's NBA players there. That's the difference.
It is snug. It is a snug arena.
It is a tight fit. Even if you're buying seats on the other side of the gym, it's still tight fit over there too.
Yeah, well, I just think the way the way the students are right on top of the floor, like that's something that's what it's all about.
And
that's why we do this podcast is because of that kind of craze.
There's no way I will, like, if I ever make it out to Fog Island, there's no way I'm going to be able to enjoy that experience. The type of cheers that drive me up a wall are the Tar Heels and the Raw. Like, it makes me want to punch a baby when those start going off. Like, and that's part of the reason I hate Kansas so much. Like, my wife knows I hate it so much. She'll do it to me to annoy me, and it just sets me off. I cannot stand it.
Dude, I'm telling you, the pregame stuff at Fog Island is really cool. The atmosphere, even outside of the arena, is really cool. But I'm telling you, like I went to, it was Kansas, nobody state when I saw them play. That would have been about 13.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you who they played.
It wasn't, the team they played wasn't enough to be remembered, and it was at the very start of the year, and I just happened to be in Kansas. Like I was just there for the experience.
Sure.
And I think the game was out of hand within the first 10 minutes. I can find the exact one, but just like everything that's happening around that arena is super, super cool. But I paid, I think it was like $60 to get into that building for a really, really good seat. Now, granted, it was early November. Nobody cared state was playing them. I am still embarrassed about the amount of money I paid to see UNC, Duke, and Cameron Indoor. Like, if I told my wife what I spent because I didn't know her back then, I'm pretty sure she'd file paperwork on me because it was absurd. But it's like, you're in North Carolina, you get an opportunity to see that game, and the ticket's available. It doesn't matter how much it is, you're going. It's just a really cool experience. But moving on to the back half of our list, number 3 for me, before we move on to 4 and 5, I kind of want to get Jake's take. Mackey Arena. Jake, I drug you to Mackey Arena with me a couple times now. We did the whole Harry's pregame. I think your wife got to Harry's at approximately 1 p.m. for a 7 p.m. tip-off. So we were good and toasty by the time we got in there. But this is an arena, like they did an upgrade, what was it, 15, 16 years ago, where they kind of added some seats and stuff like that, and they rounded it off a little bit, kind of connected it to a couple of buildings. But I've been going to Mackey for, it's been 30 years that I try to go to a game every year, and every year it just gets better. It is an arena that is designed and engineered to direct sound down and forward. The student section is on either side of you, and they are on top of you. The arena is loud. You cannot hear a thing. And if they have a lead with less than 15 seconds left, you get the whose house, our house chants going back and forth on either side of you, and it's the most demoralizing thing for an opposing team. I am extremely biased here. I am obviously, I bleed black and gold here, but Mackey Arena is undoubtedly a top 5 arena in college basketball. That is a fantastic venue. I have had the honor to do warm-ups on Mackey Arena's court. I've gotten to wear some official gold and black gear on that court. Really cool experiences. So there's an extreme amount of bias here. But Jake, what do you think? Mackey Arena, where's it out on your list?
For as big as it is, because it holds a decent amount of people, it does not feel that way. It feels small, and that's the feeling I want when I'm in a gym. It's like I want to feel that I am as close to the court as possible, and I'm as much a part of the game as possible. And Mackey gives that. Now, like, it's not the most comfortable seats in the world, but other than that, like, you shouldn't be sitting down that much at the level that Purdue is playing, unless it's like, when they play Sisters of the Poor. That's not fun. But for the majority of the games that they have, they're like Big Ten games and stuff. You shouldn't be sitting down that much, so it shouldn't matter how comfortable the seat is. And it is loud. The fans, the atmosphere is incredible. They really get into it, and it makes the experience, like, even if you have no skin in the fight other than you're just with a buddy that drug you up there, like, you're all of a sudden like, all right, this is an incredible night.
So is that your number 3, Jake, or
it's my number 3 as well.
Where do you have it, Brad?
I think it's top 5. I just don't think that it's. I wouldn't put it at 3. I think 3 for me. And I've never been to Mackey. Okay, I've never been.
I'm gonna drag
I will
you.
though.
It's gonna happen.
I know. You don't have to drag me. I'll go. I will voluntarily go. But what I've always thought was cool about that arena, I know this sounds silly, but to me, it just felt like it's built for a basketball arena. Like, it's not.
It is.
It serves one purpose, and it's
That's
for
all they do is
basketball.
basketball.
And I love that. Like, and it's obvious, and just the way that it lays out and everything. I definitely want to go. That's one of the top places I want to visit. But for me, my number. So I have the same 1 and 2 as you all. For 3 for me is Rupp Arena. I think the Rupp Arena is very hard to beat. For being there, I've gotten to experience that as an opponent, and being there on the floor, seeing the vastness of it all, be connected to a hotel. There's a mall that freaking runs underneath it. I think I've shared this with you all before, but I remember going into that arena for shoot around, and it was completely empty, and walking in and seeing all the Raptors, seeing being there, and I literally got emotional. Like, I started tearing up because it was just like, I never thought in a million years I would be able to see what I'm seeing and be there and have that moment. And I'll never forget that. And so that will always have a special place in my heart. But I cannot stand Kentucky, as we all know this, but I have to respect where they play. So I think that's where it kind of misses the mark for me. But I got to put them at number 3. I don't think I can budge from that unless you all can convince me otherwise.
You're splitting hairs at that point, right? Who's the rest of your top? Finish out the top 5 there. See where we get.
Me?
All right, Brad. I want to see what
Brad,
Brad got.
Well, here's where it gets a little bit fishy, because I personally want to put. Well, I'm gonna call. I guess I'll call. I call it Food City Center before. I think that formerly known as Thompson Bowling Arena at the University of Tennessee is so underrated for its basketball presence. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that I've experienced a lot of games there. So I understand that. But if I had to pick another arena, it would have to be the Yum Center for Louisville. It is a top-notch facility, livable atmosphere, downtown, all of that. I mean, it's just not as college feeling. Does that make sense? Like, it doesn't have, it kind of loses that. It's like the city of Louisville's minor league team rather than the school's team. That's the way I kind of put those. So that would be my last 2 for my top 5.
For where it's at in Louisville, it's like there's a rough area right around the Yum Center, and the Yum Center and like right down the street is kind of nice. And just to the left, there's a really rundown barbecue spot that if you ever get a chance to go to, like the second you see it, you can smell the smokers. But you start walking up to it and you'd be like, man, this place looks like it's about to fall apart. And that's when you know you're about to have the best barbecue you've ever had in your entire life. Great spot. I can't think of the name, but I'm going to find it for the next one when we talk about Louisville more. Great barbecue spot that is about a mile away from the Yum Center.
We'll pause. We'll put the name of the restaurant there.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
If I can find it, it definitely sticks out like it's just different. As soon as you cross the bridge, it's right there, and you just know like that's basketball. Don't like the name of the arena, and it's why it will never be in my top 5. And look, I love you guys, and I'm not trying to disrespect Tennessee. Tennessee's actually got, like, I put on my honorable mentions because Tennessee has my favorite court. The checkered baselines are just a thing of beauty. That is doing it right. That is putting like the decorations outside of the court and not like overwhelming the inside. Absolutely chef's there. But to me, that is Summit Court. It is not whatever food hall arena that they're trying to call it. That is Summit Court. That's we're gonna land there.
I don't have Thompson Bowling in my top 10. It's too big. I want tight. I want small basketball. Basketball is a personal game, and I want to be in there personal. I don't want because there's been too many times that those blackout curtains come up on that third deck. So this doesn't look up empty. And so when you have stuff like that in your arena, you can't.
College basketball arena
I thought we burned
arena and have
I thought we burned those curtains. I thought maybe the SIGEPs and ATOs and those Kappa SIGs on campus burnt those things to the ground. I hope they did.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had to use those in a minute. But
no, like to me, it gets too big, and that's why I don't have Rupp in my top 5. Forgot him at 6, but I go Bud Walton as 4 and Carnesecca for St. John's to wipe out my 5. Like, I don't know how big Bud Walton is. Hadn't been there. It's on my list to get to. But every time I see that one on TV, it looks insane and looks like everybody's right on right on the doorstep of the court. And it's partially because of the red they wear, and then the reds on the floor. It feels like they just run right up to the floor. It's just. And plus, they play my favorite style of basketball for the most part. I have been in the past, so it's always been fun. So it feels like that arena, just the roof is about to come off every time. And same way with Carnesecca, but like that I think that one holds 5,000. Like,
Yeah, it's
you're talking about like you got to get to know your neighbors real close there, like because it's a very tight gym, and I'm sure I would love it even better if it didn't have AC. Like that's the kind of gyms I want.
Yeah,
so I want me in the stands sweating as much as the players. That is what I want. Like,
hygiene has to be on point for sure.
Yeah.
Yes,
like it's one of those that like
no aluminum free deodorant in that space. That you got to go with the full strength.
Yeah, I want to go to a game there so bad.
This is what I've liked about this conversation, because I think our 1 through 3, at least Jake and I are about the same. Brad, I think if we took you up to Mackey, maybe sometime this year, I think you would have them in your top 3 because of how loud it is. We'd have to go to a Big Ten game where it mattered.
I would love to.
You definitely got to check it out. My number 4, and again, this is some bias here because I've actually been in this arena, and I've been to this arena for a whiteout. And ironically enough, I didn't get the memo and was wearing a white Purdue jersey, so I was part of the problem. Is the Breslin Center. Breslin is like, it is as loud as any other arena I've ever been to. The Michigan State fans are extremely passionate group of folks. Watching Izzo coach was really cool too, but it is like historic coordination with their fan base. They do a great job. They're a wear the damn shirt group. They coordinate well. They have good tradition. They have good chants. They're not an annoying fan base. This is a very well, like, they know ball kind of fan base. And it just, like, you see that big Spartan helmet in the middle of the court, and like the fact that the players respect the hell out of that thing and they'll defend it. It's a really cool environment. Great place to watch a college basketball game. And then my number 5 is Rupp. Having been there, watched a college basketball game there a handful of times. I mean, Lexington's not too god awful far. You can't beat the tradition. You can't beat the national title banners that you see when you walk in there. They're a blue blood. The fan base became borderline insufferable under the Calipari era, and that really kind of poisoned the well a little bit for me. With Mark Pope at the helm, like, I think I'm more inclined to want to go back and interact with some of that fan base again. And they've got some great games to go to. It's just unfortunate right now that you're like kind of priced out of going to Rupp. You're kind of priced out of going to Fog Allen. Cameron, I mean, hell, you need a down payment on a small house to get into that building anyway. But, you know, Breslin, Mackey, great places to go, reasonably affordable if you pick the right game. But, you know, Rupp, I'd definitely like to go back here soon. I think I'm with you, Brad. It's a magical place. The second you walk in, you just feel everything that's come with that arena and the history of that program. I do have some honorable mentions, and again, it's a facility that I've been to and I'd like to go back, and I think that would be a fun trip, is Iowa State. The Hilton Coliseum, great venue, huge, loud. It's not Jake's cup of tea, but you feel the size. You feel like you know you're in a big arena. You know you're in a passionate fan base. They've been relevant for 5-10 years now. So the fan base is really, really energized. I went right at the turn, right when they were starting to become relevant again. So it was a fun time to go. Great place to watch a game. And then another one I've got is Assembly. And this is atmosphere only. You go watch a basketball game there and you get the wrong seat.
Wondered if this was going to get mentioned.
$160.
Well, the fans are great. The team, for the most part,
not. No, they are. The fans are not great. The
They're
fans
they're
are insufferable as Kentucky fans.
they are into it. Like that's what I mean. Like they're not fun to be around, but they are into it and they know their stuff. But oh my god, that arena is so bad. That's why it's nowhere near my list. 'Cause you can't have a top 10 arena and then have seats that you might as well bring your phone, watch it on your phone while you're 10 feet from the floor.
They are an honorable mention simply because of the atmosphere. The arena itself, yuck. The fan base, anybody under the age of 40 can go kick rocks because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They haven't seen a national title. These guys are grasping at straws, and they haven't been relevant since Bobby Knight's last year and Davis took his team to a national title game. Yeah, another court that I really, really like. And I don't know if we can count this, guys. The Palestra. You guys ever watch Penn State play at the Palestra?
Oh,
Yeah,
This is some Big Ten bias here.
okay.
It's a greater. It's just like I don't count it because
It's not a
their
college
home rink.
basketball
Like
arena.
I can't count Madison Square Garden for St. John's. Like that's like we're going
Right.
Like that's like you can't count the Bridgestone there in Nashville. That always ends up being a decent arena to watch games at. Like there's tons of arenas that are good to watch games at that would be higher on this list if they actually had a team.
Yeah.
Well, to be in that conversation for me is and I'm not even sure. I don't think they play any games there anymore. But it's Freedom Hall in Louisville. So in college, we played them. We played Louisville, and we were there, and we were the opening home opener of the final season at Freedom Hall, and it was a very cool arena. But literally, it smelled like cow shit because they literally have stalls. Like when we came out onto the floor, there were stalls like where you would go and put cattle in that were just pushed to the side because they just had a cattle run the weekend before that. So that was an interesting experience, but in terms of basketball, it sat well. It was very vast. It's huge. I mean, it was a humongous place. It was very loud, but that was just an incredible experience. And Jake, I have been to Bud Walton, and I will say that of any arena that I've been to, including mine, Thompson Bowling Arena, Food City Center,
Summit Court,
Bud Walton had the nicest, most well-ran facility of any basketball or any sports complex I've ever been to. Truly, to the T. You never had to. I mean, it was they spend their money where it needs to be. They have it's hospitable even for an opposing team. Actually, I met John Pelfrey there in that arena. That's another conversation for a different day. Probably not on this podcast, but he was the coolest guy there. Let me just say that. He even had the leather jacket. He was playing the Fonz. But Bud Walton is a really cool arena. Actually, if you pay attention next time you see Arkansas play, and probably losing by at least 20 to 30 when they shouldn't, right underneath the basket, you see this little circle, and it's where Bud Walton made the first dunk there at that arena. And so there's a little spot there in the court, which I thought was kind of neat.
That's cool.
But it definitely is it is a really cool and underrated facility in the SEC. Also, Missouri's not a bad arena. I mean, I definitely wouldn't put it up there in the top 10, but it's still a good place to watch basketball, and it was way louder than I expected.
Missouri's an underrated basketball place. That Kansas rivalry they have does not get enough love. That is a game every time it's played. That is on my TV, no matter what.
That might be a fun topic here in the coming weeks, talking about kind of unpacking some of the college basketball's best rivalries. And
yeah,
I mean, some of them are pretty obvious, but I think I can think of a few mid-major rivalries of some teams who I will never mention on this podcast that I loathe tremendously, and that typically falls into the western side of Kentucky, a very small school. McFurry is what it rhymes with. So that is my school that I love to loathe. But stay tuned for that topic. I think that'd be a fun one down the line. So I think we talked about quite a few. Did we get through each of our top fives?
I think so.
I just want to throw some love for some of the smaller ones. Like Hinkle is incredible if you love history.
Hinkle is a great arena.
Great point.
It's not
totally
a bad there. And it's great because it's also the Big East, so you get gone to watch Marcus Howard just absolutely take over a game in the second half, and he dropped like 52 on Butler, and as they won that game, I've seen UConn there a couple times with their title runs. Grab St. John's and Creighton. You get the small arena, like a mid-major type arena, but you're getting the big names come through there, so that's a lot of fun. I love the Pit out in New Mexico. That is just an incredible arena. If you ever
It's
chance,
cool.
that's
Yeah.
a lot of fun. Like I absolutely love that one.
Just one more arena here, because I feel like
Let's hear it.
anybody who gets a chance to go check it out, if you're ever in Connecticut and you find yourself at the Mohegan Sun Arena, connected to the casino there, and you get a chance to watch a college basketball game with a Power 5 D1 school or an MTE, don't. The guys trip was memorable. The guys trip that we went on was absolutely memorable, and we got to see Purdue, we got to see Tennessee, North Carolina, Villanova. It was absolutely fantastic. We found a stoplight on an interstate. Just some wild events that took place over the course of approximately 72 to 96 hours or something like that. Fantastic trip. The least prepared for a sellout game that I've ever been a part of. Like, I think they ran out of beers before the first half of the first game. The food was gone by the end of game one, and they did not know how to get people the hell out of that arena.
One
So if you ever
door.
get a
There's
chance to
one
go-
door to go in and out.
What? I don't even know how that. I don't even know how
It's
that's.
a 10,000 seat arena that has one door. No wonder they're trying to sell the Connecticut Sun. Like, they don't want to deal with this anymore. They don't care about that. Like, it was an incredible experience watching getting to basically have courtside seats to watch 3 members of the Final Four and Tennessee there. I was all over Sports Center cheering because I ended up with seats in the North Carolina section as we beat them by 20, and that was one of my favorite memories of all time. But they are just no clue how to handle. And ever since that one, they've never had that kind of field. It's been, you'll have one like semi-power conference team and 3 mid-major teams because they don't want to deal with the amount of people and how to handle the concessions and all that. It was absolutely joke of a run event, but it was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
For me, in closing, I will say the worst basketball arena I've ever seen in my life has to be Eastern Illinois. Okay, I know this sounds like a random one because it is.
It's bad. It's bad.
Jake, you know what I'm talking about? It's literally like this is no exaggeration. It's like they drained a swimming pool and then painted a big panther on the side of the wall, and it just makes this loud, like, just sound, and it echoes through all of it.
Imagine
It
your
is the
Friday night high
worst.
school football Panthers, like whatever local high school that is. It's that sound.
It is, and it echoes everywhere, and you cannot hear. It is awful. It is a horrible place to play. I hated going up there for those games, but I kind of wanted to ask. I wanted to pose this question: can you all name, as we kind of close out here and wrap things up, because I think Coach is giving us the eye, because we've got this thing under control, and it's time to us to make our money, our NIL money, right?
Yep.
We can't just be GPA boosters. We have to be able to produce something on the floor to make ourselves relevant.
Speaking of large arenas, the arena that we're in right now has approximately 7 people waiting for the next game. Yeah, I think Coach is giving us a side eye right now, gentlemen.
That sounds good. Let's get in there and be the human victory cigars that we strive to be.
All right.
See
Take care, y'all.
And if you made it this far, you're already part of the bench mob. So hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more chaos. Bench Points is on YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you pretend to know ball.